I'm Pete Townshend from Goldline Curling, and I'm here to talk to you today about G50 curling shoes. So what makes a G50 curling shoe is the outsole. So that is this part of the shoe, excluding the slider. The slider, we'll talk about that in a minute, how it changes across the lineup. But any shoe that's got this same outsole is all considered a G50. So we've done a lot of G50s over the years. Started with Cyclone and Storm. We had Chinook and Swagger. We've also had Azul and Fuego, which were in different colors. What I want to talk to you about today is the difference between the Gen 1 G50s and the Gen 2. And it's interesting I actually call these Gen 1 because there was a series before this, before we did the ice knit top. So we're talking about the Gen 1s of the ice knit versus the new Gen 2s. So the big difference here, if I put these side by side, is this one is the Gen 1 Cyclone, and this is the Gen 2 Cyclone. So you can see side by side right away that there is going to be a difference in the decoration that's on the tongue and on the side of the shoe. Just a little bit of a cleaner look this year. We've upgraded that. And then the other big difference that we made is we did hear some complaints about a little bit of heel slippage on the Gen 1s and a little bit of early wear on the heel as well. So we've upgraded the material on the heel and we've increased the height of the heel cup just to lock your foot a little bit better in place. And then the other big difference that we made, or big change that we made, was that we upgraded the slider on these. And so if you look at these sliders, you'll see that on the Gen 1, these have a bit of a divot in them, and that's to provide more stability because it takes the weight off of the heel of your foot and distributes it around the perimeter. So it keeps you a little bit more stable on the ice. And this is a pure 1/4 inch Teflon, which is sort of the gold standard, or has been the gold standard for sliders for years. The reason that we do that as a 1/4 inch is the thicker your Teflon gets, because it's a soft material, it gives it a little bit more stiffness. It rides up on top of the pebble, you slide a little bit faster. If you've got a thinner slider, as I'll show you in some of these other models in a minute, it rides up and down on the pebble, creates a little bit more friction, you slide a little bit slower. And so we've always overcome that by going thicker on the Teflon. So what we've done here, this is an innovation that first got started in our Quantum series, and then we did it in our Momentum series, and now we're gonna introduce it here in our G50s, is that we've reinforced the Teflon so that we can have a thinner Teflon, but it actually slides faster and offers increased stability. So because it's got a reinforced, you can see there's two different colors there, because it's got the reinforced backer on it, it makes the whole thing a whole lot stiffer, so it rides up on top of the ice. It also provides you more stability because you're not going to be able to rock side to side as much because it is a firmer material. And the benefit to that is that you'll have a more consistent thickness between your gripper and your slider. It's also going to be a lot lighter, and it's going to be more stable, and it's going to be faster as well. So overall, it's a huge upgrade, and we've done that to both the Cyclone and the Storm. So let's talk about Cyclone and Storm for a minute. Now, when we compare this with the Storm, these are going to look very similar when you look at them from this angle. And even in the video, it might be hard to see, but the thickness of the slider is a little bit thicker on the Cyclone than it is on the Storm. And that actually causes even just a fraction of an inch difference in the thickness. Even with the polycarbonate reinforced backer, it still makes the Storm a slightly slower shoe than the Cyclone. So on a speed scale, we would rate the Cyclone as a speed 11, and we would rate the Storm as a speed 8. So that's the difference there. And then if we go down another level to the Chinook, you'll see again, basically still the same shoe. The difference here is that the Chinook loses the polycarbonate reinforcement. It just has a 3/32 inch Teflon, and it's glued the entire length of the toe slider. What do I mean by that? So if you look at either the Storm or the Chinook, when you get up on your toe, this is what we call a hinged slider. And some people do call us because they don't know that we've got a hinged slider, and so they call us and they say, hey, half of my slider's not attached to my shoe. I'll let you know, it's intentional. We do that because it increases your flexibility, especially when you've got that backer and or a thicker Teflon as well. It makes it stiffer, so it makes it harder to walk around in. On the Chinook, because it's a thinner shoe or a thinner slider, and it's more of a beginner shoe, we don't hinge that slider anymore. So you can still get up on your toe, not as much flexibility, but it still does let you get up on your toe. That's just a slower slider. So that's the slowest one that we make. We would rate that as a speed 5. The other shoe that you'll see here on the table with me is our Swagger. So the Swagger is a double gripper shoe. So this one doesn't have a slider at all. This is good for anybody who's not going to be sliding while they're on the ice. So that could be a stick curler, could also be a coach or an ice technician, anybody who needs to be sure-footed, be able to walk on the ice and have good grip on their shoes. That's what the double grippers are for. So that's our G50 lineup, the new lineup for 2024, and it walks you through the difference between the Gen 1 and the Gen 2.